This is a message to the one who refers to himself as dominating, deandre Ayton. If by chance this video comes across your table, DeAndre, I hope you give me the time of day and listen to what I have to say in a similar fashion that I give you and the Portland Trailblazers the time of day, and watch your guys' basketball games or listen to your radio feed when I'm at work. I'm making this video because of recent comments that were made related to DeAndre Ayton and his feeling on his worth in the NBA. When asked about his worth in the NBA, he said, and I quote, "I got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player, and I'll continue to be a max player." Now I'll unpack that, my thoughts on that, later on. But I want to start this video off with a story. I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I've been a Trailblazer fan for as long as I can remember. I was not brought up in a family with money. For a decent part of my childhood, you could say was downright poor. But going to Portland Trailblazers basketball games was always something that was special to me. Didn't get to go very often, but when we did, those are really special memories to me. And the story I want to tell, and the memory that sticks out to me most, goes like this. I believe it was 2014, my parents surprised me and told me that we're going to go to kind of like a sports bar and go watch the Trailblazers playoff basketball game at a venue across the street from the Moda Center called Dr. Jack's. And went down there, and I was super excited because I've never been around NBA playoff atmosphere. There was so much energy, and there were so many people packed around the Moda Center, and all sorts of activities and games to play before the game and stuff like that. And I'd never seen any of that. We finally get in line to get into Dr. Jack's, and eventually we get up to the bouncer, the doorman, or whoever, and they tell us that it's the venue's full, and it was reservations, and we didn't have a reservation or something like that, and that we couldn't go in. And I remember being so happy that I was just in that atmosphere that I didn't even care. It didn't bother me at all. It was like I had already had such a different and such an incredible experience before the game had even started. With just the people and the energy and the chaos going around, I figured we would just go home and go watch the game. And my dad totally caught me off guard and surprised me and pulled out of his pocket tickets to the game. That playoff game, the first playoff game I'd ever been to, and probably the 6th or 7th Trailblazer game I'd ever been to, was a game where I believe Dwight Howard made a layup under the basket with 0.7 seconds left in Game 5 of the first round of the playoffs against the Houston Rockets. And Damian Lillard came off a pick on some blown coverage because Jeremy Lin and Chandler Parsons were talking to one another, and made a ridiculous fadeaway jump shot and put us to the second round of the playoffs in the first time in I don't know how many years. I'd never seen us win a playoff series. So I'm going to say 20 years or 15 years. I cannot tell you how special of a moment that was, to be surprised by my parents to go to that game, to see a shot like that. I completely lost my mind. I remember turning to my left, and my parents are standing there. They're losing their minds. It's something that, you can't put a price on that experience. Now, fast forward 5 years, and I'm 19 years old. I'm working a part-time job and I'm living at home, putting myself through college. And there was a program to buy cheaper Trailblazer tickets called the Blazer Student Pass, where you use a student email to get discounted tickets at the very last minute that were more affordable. And I saved up money, and I was able to use that student pass to purchase 3 tickets for my parents and I to another Blazer playoff game in the first round of the playoffs. We went to that game, and it was a good one. It was coming down to the wire, and I could feel it. I was fortunate enough that I had been in that situation before, and when I was 14 years old, I was overwhelmed and I wasn't prepared. I didn't know it was what might happen. But this time I was prepared, and I filmed the last minute or so of the game. The Blazers were down 2 with, I don't know, I'm going to say 30 seconds left. I haven't looked at the video in such a long time. I can't remember. But Lillard drove to the basket, made a layup, tied the game. The Oklahoma City Thunder came back down. I don't know if they forced Russell Westbrook or Paul George into a tough shot. He missed it, got the rebound, got Lillard the ball back, and he went down the court. Didn't push up the court very far, which I thought was odd, and took an absolutely insane step back jumper to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round of the playoffs again. And in the video, when he makes that shot, my camera cuts off because I jump and throw my hand around so much. I don't know if I hit the power button on my phone or what, but I just about dropped my phone. And I remember being absolutely over the moon when he made that shot. I was just about on the edge of tears. And I wasn't that emotional because he made the shot. It was incredible that he made the shot, and I was glad we won in the first round of the playoffs. But I was that emotional because I was so grateful and so happy that for the first time I felt like I had done something as an adult, and I had paid back that incredible feeling that my parents were able to provide to me, to them. Same situation where I jumped up and I turned to my left and my parents were there, and everybody's in the stadium is losing their mind. And for the first time as a 19-year-old kid, I felt like I was an adult and I had done something real that mattered. I contributed. I had done something for my parents, my family. And that is something that I will never forget. And I will always feel grateful for Damian Lillard for being able to make that experience possible. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but that was my second ever playoff game, by the way. I don't think it's ever going to get much better than that for first 2 games. But now, DeAndre Ayton, Damian Lillard has been traded, and you were a big part of that trade. You were one of the centerpiece players that came here as a result of that. I think it's important to recognize the gravity of that coming here to the Pacific Northwest and just what Lillard meant to some people here. Now let's go back to these comments you made. In regard to your worth in the NBA, you said, "I've got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player and I'll continue to be a max player." Now, ironically enough, this came out on the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's 81-point game. And on this same night, Joel Embiid had 70 and Kat had 62 or something like that. That's a pretty bold statement to say that you're a max player and you have nothing less to prove. But, let's check the stat sheet from the following game last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. At the end of the game, In 27 minutes, Dom Ayton had 5 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, and 2 personal fouls after making these comments. I mean, Jesus Christ, Chauncey Billups, why'd you take the chef out of the kitchen? He was just starting to cook. If Dom Ayton had unlimited stamina, and the Oklahoma City Thunder game went into double overtime, and you played 54 straight minutes, you would have had a chance. Based on how you were playing, you would have had a chance at 10 points. Oh, why didn't you say so? 10? Let me make something abundantly clear, Dom Ayton. I'm not a man of money, but if I were, I would not pay you $20 to mow my lawn, let alone give you a max contract to be a starting center in the NBA. DeAndre, you had 5 more points than me last night, and I had 3 less turnovers than you. That is absolutely unacceptable. You cannot be coming out here saying that you have nothing to prove as a max contract player after you were involved in the Damian Lillard trade and what he meant to the Portland Trailblazers and to the Pacific Northwest in general, and come here and say that and score 5 points in 27 minutes. And I know you might be thinking, who is this guy to say I had 5 more points than him? You come do my job. Let's see how many points I could get. And that's fair. That's fair. But ironically, that does bring up the point of doing your job and showing up to your job. Something that, for some reason, you seem to struggle with. And it's interesting that last Thursday, coming from Portland, Oregon, I was able to make it to my job where I get paid $26 an hour to do manual labor, but for some reason you weren't able to make it to yours because of ice. And you want us to believe that the Portland Trailblazers sent people to come get you, and no one could figure out how to deal with the ice. And you might be saying to yourself, yeah, well, I live in a mansion at the top of a hill, and you live in a small house at the bottom of a hill. So of course the ice is going to affect me differently. I'm at the top of the hill. And I think you might be starting to see my point, DeAndre. Maybe if you weren't a number 1 overall pick, and maybe if you weren't a max contract player, and maybe if you didn't have the big house at the top of the hill, maybe you would show up to your job, and when you do show up to your job, just maybe you'd have enough of a chip on your shoulder to score more than 5 points. And the reason I feel inclined to make this video is because the nature of Pacific Northwest sports and the Portland Trailblazers media, we don't have a lot of options up here. There's not going to be a ton of backlash in the media like there would be in Los Angeles or Miami or New York. Trailblazers fans are extremely patient, and they want people that come here to succeed because they're all we have. Unless we draft talent, there isn't a whole lot of big name free agents coming out here. I want to close by saying there are no bandwagon fans, and there are certainly no fair weather fans here in the Pacific Northwest. It rains far too often, and we'll put up with a lot. Poor play, but we will absolutely not tolerate a bad attitude and a sense of entitlement. The support from these great fans is earned, not given. So DA, lose the attitude, drop the sense of entitlement, or get the fuck out.